Hey everyone, this is Uri, Peleg for Gorilla Poker. As per requested, I'm gonna do a 2-tabling NL200 Zoom live play. Want to give you guys a short reminder, my generic strategy for these stakes before knowing anything is to bluff quite a lot and fold quite a lot, and of course that's gonna be a lot more nuanced per situation, but those are like the big picture things that I'm gonna be doing. And I wanted to put in a word about splash pots since I've gotten asked about these a bunch. Splash pots are very, very different. There's a ton of money in the pot pre-flop, so in a way you really want to just see the flop with your hand, and limping becomes a big thing, and then you're going to have tons of multi-way pots where potentially donk betting is a thing, and the strategies of splash pots in like the GTO realm are pretty crazy. Really, it's a lot about how the people who you're playing with rather than the theory, and you know, limp a lot, see the flop a lot. It's probably a bit looser than you think it is, given all the dead money. Okay, so that out of the way, let's jump into the 200 Zoom pool. By the way, for anyone wondering how I'm doing after the dentist, which we talked about earlier, I'm doing fine. Still hurts a bit, but I'm told it should be fine in 1 to 3 weeks. So just taking some painkillers meanwhile, which should help dull the pain if I lose any big poker hands. Okay, so this is NL200. We see the stacks and big blinds, and I'm gonna be very rusty pre-flop. Very, very rusty. I have not played this rake structure in a while. I've actually been playing games with lots of antes where you play a lot looser. So if you guys see me playing really, really loose, apologies. Here, it's probably be a fold, but since this guy's not full stacked, actually, why does it say you raised to 2.2? Okay, I'll leave it like that. It looked like it was $4 for some reason. That's actually a big difference, just so you guys know. Like, there's a really good reason that this is 2.2 and not 2. There are tons of kind of really trashy hands and no limit hold'em where if you lower your raise size just a little bit, they all start becoming callable. We're gonna have 3-way flop, absolute trash, so check and look to bluff later, because we like bluffing at NL200. So if these guys give me the green light, I will look to bluff. Doesn't seem like the green light. I'll just fold. I was thinking it for a second about bluff raising, but I think that would be too crazy. Without reads. Here we're BVB. Have to notice the bet size of people a lot. So Queen 8 will call, but given villain bet big, means he's very polarized. And I'm gonna look to fold this hand to further action pretty much unimproved. And some runouts actually turn it into a bluff because villain sized this big. And here we see a donk bet. I'll just raise my open-ender, a very easy fold with a Queen 8. Okay, bet the turn. Now, I don't really know my opponent. Could have various things, but like I said, I'm gonna lean towards bluffing. And at this point in a hand, I'm getting kind of a bad feeling. So generally, if you're bluffing, might as well fire off. But something about his timing makes me feel like the guy's not folding. So I'm just gonna wave the white flag with King 10 obviously losing. Oh wow, I got it all the way wrong. Okay, instincts definitely need some recalibration. Okay, so probably recreational. Think he played the hand a bit too loose on the turn. I think the turn call does not work out for him when the board is paired. It's probably a bit close. Pre-flop's obviously too loose. And yeah, this was me trying to look smart, reacting to timing and getting it absolutely wrong, which you will do sometimes. E3-5 rainbow. Here, I think it's important to think about what your hand wants to do. So Ace-9 wants to show down. It can do this with a small bet or with checking down, but both lines are fine. Some runouts you would turn it into a bluff, but not very often. So on the flop, we kind of have two options. Once it goes check-check, we don't really have multiple options anymore. The hand has to check back. But given river is a queen, And the amount of money that's gone in, you know, 3 broadways. I think it's probably too loose, but works well in practice, where villain would have his own ace-9 or ace-3 or some low pocket pair, and most people will just always fold those. So kind of a loose bluff, and I would not have done that on most rivers. The river would have to come pretty high for me to do that. I think this is too loose to open. I'm really rusty at NL200. I'll still open it. Like these hands that are really on the edge are not important hands. Here again, with this hand, similar to the ace-9 hand, where you kind of... It's not super important whether you bet flop or not. Here ace-7, I think. I'll check raise. You could check raise or lead. They're both okay. Let's do this size. We're hoping he has ace-king, ace-queen, but most likely we get a fold. Yeah, so the hand I was talking about, 8-4, we're gonna want to try bluffing at some point, and then it's a lot about the board that fell, how frequently you're bluffing flop or waiting for later, but it's not an important decision as long as you try bluffing. Here, this is the King 10 guy. So, if you guys haven't watched my donk betting series on YouTube, check it out. This talks about this spot, but the fact that this guy actually donk bet the King 10 makes me just want to bet and barrel off with the thought that he's probably donk betting good hands, which means checking range is left a bit weak. So yeah, I think in the spirit of this, just gonna bluff raise here as well. So going a bit extra crazy. But like I said, I think once he donk bets the King 10, always kind of assume, you know, he's donk betting his good hands and go with that. So here, you guys see already 10 big blinds in the pot. I wasn't sure what the format was exactly. And yeah, I think we're gonna want to ISO, not sure if you want to go 8 or 12 exactly. 9 similar to before. This wants to get roughly 1 bet in. Of course, we call kings. Villain should actually be fairly wide making this play. We'll check back 9s again. I don't know if he should be that wide though. Okay, so once it's checked down to the river, 9s is worth a value bet probably. So we'll go ahead and do that. So similar to the ace-9 bluff. Wait, did I lose one? No. Well, we still chop the splash money. I think villain's play is probably too loose. Like I said, it's a bit of a Wild West pot, splash pot, so maybe if he thinks I'm isolating too wide or not stacking off wide enough, his play might become good. Here ace jack off is probably like a close low frequency 3-bet. Mostly fold. If I had to guess, like I said, I'm very rusty pre-flop, so apologies for that. Donk betting series talks about exactly this. This should probably call in theory, but I find that recreational players who this guy seems to be to me, given all the donk betting going on, they don't 4-bet bluff as much as they should, so... Ooh, that's a nice flop to have hit, but... yeah, I tend to not peel their 4-bets as wide as I'm supposed to, especially when they go big. If you think about it, for anyone who has pre-flop charts, that there are hands that should call a 4-bet, but this assumes, this I think is also a fold, this assumes that the 4-betting range has various bluffs in it, and if you start taking them out, hands that should call a 4-bet just become folds. This I think is also a fold. Yeah, because I've gotten used to playing with the big antes, it feels kind of weird to me to fold hands that strong. I think it's fine. This probably calls, but close. And again, if we're thinking about what does my hand do here, my hand is calling 1 bet if the bet is not too big. Once it goes check check, In theory, this would not always bluff, but no, in practice, I think I will go ahead and always bluff. This is one of those hands that mixes because there are so many draws on the board. You don't want to actually bluff all of them, but if we're looking to over bluff, might as well. So back to the donk betting guy. What I was saying in the donk betting series is pretty much that the big issue with donk betting is that it's tough to balance. Like, you're already, here you guys see a pot donk bet. You're already at a range disadvantage to begin a hand. And then it's kind of impossible to donk bet a balanced range without weakening your checking range a lot. So when I see someone just donk betting open-ender, which in my eyes is just a really good hand, it's really ugly. So here I beat only bluffs. Most people never bluff like this, but I don't fold to really tiny bets before I know someone. In terms of hand strength, this feels like ace-2 suited or something. I'd be surprised to see something as strong as ace-jack, to be honest, but actually probably well played. And once you get to know a player pool better, you can actually just start folding to those. Probably should have, but you know, facing a very small bet, you need to be right very infrequently. So it's always a bit tempting. But yeah, I'm not a fan of my call there. I'd call that a mistake in a vacuum and me kind of forgetting my own rules. Here, queen 10 off, I have to be sensitive to villain sizing. This sizing's small enough where I'm definitely calling it. When people start sizing smaller, you just call more. And yeah, once that's done, like we said, plans to bluff a decent amount. I think we can wait for the turn with this one. Yeah, let's wait for the turn. Start bluffing on the turn. Yeah, but basically the reason I talk about the rules, and I'm sorry to say I'm definitely guilty of forgetting them myself sometimes because they don't fit with kind of how I'd like to play poker or how I naturally play poker, is just tendencies of, you know, bluffs tend to be good. Here, this hand's kind of in between. I will actually go ahead and fold. It's almost good enough to bluff raise. Almost. With the ace of spades, probably, yes. It's actually a pretty big difference. Here, yeah, same idea. We're gonna keep going with bluffing. Very bricky board, tons of stuff missed, so it's easy to not have anything. And it's actually still true on the turn. Still easy to not have anything, so we'll still keep firing. And we see a snap fold, and this is a spot many people would just give up, thinking, well, he has a pair, he's definitely, you know, folding it now. But it's actually not true. He doesn't necessarily. I mean, first of all, he might fold his low pair, but second, you know, maybe floated with something. So here, check, check. Start value betting or ace king. This gets too long. Maybe we divide it into 2 parts. I hope you guys prefer like a really long one or multiple short ones. If you guys enjoyed the video, please let me know in the comments. I definitely appreciate those. Check out the Gorilla Poker website. We have a course about how to improve your red line. We have GTO pre-flop ranges for various stake levels and for live play situations where you're deeper and big open sizes, and I think we're the only ones currently offering this. Definitely worth checking those out. If you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys next time.